Welcome to CEO Interviews, a production of Gorcom in which we take the time to speak with small cap CEOs and executives about recent important developments at their companies. With us today, I'm really happy to have Marcy Kiesman. She's CEO at Durango Resources. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol DGO. Now, what's been great about Marcy and the company is they've been on here several times, and at every moment, the company just continues to advance. And we got two stories to talk about with you today. Let me give you some background for those of you who are new to Durango. First, the company holds 100% interest in the Maynard's Fortune and Smith Island limestone properties in northwestern British Columbia. Now, that doesn't sound very sexy. You're thinking, why limestone? But the company strategically chose those in an effort to coincide with the LNG projects out in that area of British Columbia, and they hit it big back in September with some great news. Both have historical occurrence of limestone, which will fast-track their exploration to production timeline since they're pretty much near-term producing properties. The other project we're going to talk about today, news related to it, is the company's 100% interest in the NMX East. That's a lithium property that's tied to Nemaska Lithium's Whabouchi property in Quebec. There's some news out of there that impacts the company, so we're here to talk about both of those. Marcy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, George. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Great news out. So let's talk about the first one. December 14th, you announced that you received assay results from the Maynard's Fortune limestone project. Tell us about the results first, and then we'll talk about how good they were.
Okay, well, we just recently received back the assays for the Maynard's Fortune, where we did a good chunk of the assaying for the program up there in an area that was to the north. We went in, there was road access, which we were highly surprised at the quality of the roads. We ended up even being able to drive in just a regular Chrysler 300. So it was kind of fun the one day when we discovered, the first day we discovered it by helicopter, and then we went in with the car, and it worked out beautifully. So we sampled the one area and we're expecting reasonable results, and then we were pleasantly surprised with the quality and the grade of the results that we actually did receive. So we're quite happy with the outcome of the trip up there, which is why we just went and did another trip up there to further assay throughout the area in the north there with all the road exposure to get additional assays, because there's quite a large outcrop in the area. So we're trying to get the closest numbers as we can to find out a good average assay grade for the project.
What were the assays that you came up with?
Well, basically, the assays were up to 100% limestone, which is great. The CaCO3 is it's like actually a calculation that you have to make. When you do the assays, it's a little bit of chemistry that's involved with doing the actual conversions, and the numbers are in the news release there. So yeah, we were quite happy. Like I said, we were expecting decent grades just based on the historical figures that were in the old reports that we had read when we actually obtained the property.
And those were around 98.5%, right? Historically.
Yeah, there was some numbers that were actually lower in some parts of the project where there's some cross-cutting dikes in some bits of it, so it was down as low as like 65% in a few spots. So we were just very happy that the stuff that's got the road running right to it, that's a nice road right from town. It's 10 minutes from Terrace by car, hop in your car, get there. It's open. It's already been logged probably 7 years ago, so there's no trees to contend with, really some stumps here and there, but otherwise it's nice open outcrop. And I put some pictures up on our Facebook site actually, so there's a few photos of the area where we spent quite a lot of our time working and doing some mapping and sampling, and we did more mapping the first trip, and then the second trip we went back and did more sampling, and so we're hoping for more of the same 100% sort of results, and that'll make things really nice over such a large area to have such high quality limestone with the access.
Yeah, anytime you get anything over 99%, especially when you get up to 99.99% plus, that's fantastic. So here's what's even better. You announced the press release that as a result of that grade, further opportunities are now open to you. So talk a little bit about, just briefly, about what the original expectations and intentions were for the limestone and what these new opportunities are.
Okay. Well, limestone it's probably one of the most useful rocks that are around, and most people just don't realize that it's in everything. You have it in your house and you don't even know it. It may not be on your walls, but it'll be in your toothpaste. It's really almost everywhere as an additive and filler. And if you have high quality limestone that doesn't have a bunch of impurities in it varies and opens up the uses for it, from just being a fertilizer to actually being able to put it into your toothpaste, because obviously you can't make toothpaste with impurities and whatnot. And the quality of the limestone is one factor, but we've got also a very nice color of the limestone. There's a few photos of some of the rock coming out of the ground that I actually put on Facebook as well. The color of our limestone is actually quite beautiful. So it's a nice white and gray. It looks very marble-ish. And I've been speaking with some of the local community in Terrace and some of the local groups, including the First Nations groups. And we're discussing partnerships and potential opportunities for not just using one or two uses for this limestone, but being able to do multiple projects. And there may be some projects we do with some bands and some projects we do with other bands. And based on what we can see so far from the size and the quality and the purity and the looks of the limestone, I think it's going to be a really fun project that we can do a lot of things with. It doesn't have to just necessarily be for hydroponics and for the LNG for building the roads and doing all that, but we can also use it for decorative art. And there's been a few other suggestions up there. The sky is kind of the limit for this, so you might be expecting some interesting news releases in 2017 on this project.
It's amazing. A lot of people, until you came along, didn't really think about limestone other than something they may put in their house, like you said earlier. But in September, you also received some fantastic news respecting both your limestone properties, because the government of Canada had approved, I guess, the construction of massive liquid natural gas terminals, and of course those require limestone as a major component to getting those constructed, and you're right there, literally next door to them. So how has that been looking since then, and any advancement on that side?
Yeah, that's basically my original intent when I'd heard about this property, and I thought, well, I know the area fairly well. I've been born and raised up there. I know there's not a whole lot of limestone available in the area that is actually mineable for doing these sorts of things, and even a lot of the gravel and stuff up there is not the right quality gravel for building and stuff. So it just seemed like perfect. Put it this way, when the federal government and the provincial government are actually working together for the same cause, I can only think of a handful of times that's actually happened in history. So I'm quite certain that things are going to move ahead in favor of, not just Durango, but the whole North Coast. They really do need this project for jobs and whatnot, but we're just at the right place in the right time. So we've been actively going up into the area and not just having the Miner's Fortune, but we're actually searching out and trying to get all the past producing limestone and potential limestone deposits in the area. So we actually will have most of the known deposits in the area. So when and if this goes through, I'm guessing it's probably going to be sometime in the first half of 2017 that it will get announced one way or another. We plan to be right there, ready, willing, and able to sell them some limestone. We've already proved that we've got the product. The product's there. It's high quality. We're looking at some ways.
And the quantity.
Yeah, the quantity. We don't even know the full extent of the quantity yet, just from what we can see. I'm like, even the geologist I had up there, we're up there in this probably about a foot of snow and mapping and stuff, and he's just like, this is just crazy. And I said, yeah, and this is just the one spot. So it continues on for, well, it's supposed to be 1.6 kilometers is the length of the one bed we were looking at. So it's a large deposit, and it's not only one bed. There's 5 parallel limestone beds. So we don't know the quality of and the purity of all the other limestone beds, but as I said to the board of directors, I said, we'll work on what we have for starter. It's we've got the road there. We've got everything ready to go. We just got to put a little bit of money into the project, and we can start some small-scale production. And this will greatly benefit the shareholders. It'll help reduce our overhead costs of being public. And who knows, even if the LNG doesn't go through, we may potentially have enough to grow this enough so we don't even have to raise any further capital into the markets. And this would be great for shareholders. I know I would personally be overjoyed if I never had to go into the market to raise more money to have to advance our projects. And as a shareholder, I would greatly appreciate that. So I wouldn't be getting diluted any further. So
yeah, and I think
that's kind of
we all agree with you on that.
Yeah. Nobody wants to go in and get diluted and diluted.
That's the name of the game. But here's the great news. So I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again because I think you're almost too bashful about this, but that Limestone acquisition and everything, putting it all together before it became a thing was a genius move, right? And it was brilliant. You, your team, and your board deserve a lot of credit for that. And now you're potentially going to start reaping the benefits because if you can start small production and start generating cash flow, then you've moved yourself out of the typical exploration game, moved to the next level where you can start relying on some of your own cash flows, and I think that'll be big when it happens. So good on that.
It's not as sexy as having a great gold discovery, but we've also got projects that we can work on that later once we. I'd like to start and get a few, like you said, get this one into some small production, and then once the LNG. When and if it comes on board, then we can go into some serious large-scale production. We're working on partnerships up there with a lot of the local construction groups and First Nations groups. It's a lot of, just foundation building kind of things that we've been doing this fall. Stuff that's not really great for news releases, so it's been pretty quiet, but it's an essential step for Durango to move forward. We need to have these partnerships. We need to have these agreements. We need to have people want to work with us, and I think I've been pleasantly surprised that they are so surprised that we actually want to work with them, and they're great people up there, and I really want to see them do well. It's like I said, it's my old stomping grounds, and I think it's going to be great.
Marcy, let's switch gears a little bit now to the news that came out of Nemaska Lithium. So specifically on November 30th, they announced that their deposit extends towards your NMX East project. How significant is the discovery by Nemaska of this new Doris zone?
Well, that's a great question, George. The Nemaska Lithium play has been a fun one right from the beginning for Durango. As you were alluding to with the limestone stuff of us trying to think ahead and work ahead, the NMX East was also a project that I watched. Before we even staked it, I was watching Nemaska Lithium, and I said, this project is good and it's got some merit, and I'm going to stake some ground there on the off chance that I think they're going to be as successful as they may be. And it worked out well for us. I've had so many people over the last few years say that we're just jumping on the bandwagon and that we're pump and dump and all this crazy nonsense. And we've been there since the beginning when Nemaska was 7-8 cents and struggling, and we've rode the whole wave with them. And I really believe in their project. It's wonderful. It's a great area. The people up there are also fantastic. And that is a really significant piece of news for not just Durango, but for me personally, because I had some individuals who contacted me after we first started speaking about the NMX East project and said, Marcy, there's no pegmatites there. There's no lithium. Save your money. Don't waste your time going to look. And everything that needs to be found there has already been found. And I thought, that is like a really interesting thing to say. So I thought, okay, so of course if somebody tells me there is no lithium there, I have to go prove that there's no lithium there. So we went and proved it.
That's part of the game. People try and talk out of these things and steal it for themselves. So you weren't...
and the person was a related party, so yeah. So anyways, we found the pegmatites, and then we went up and sampled the pegmatites, and they're the right type of pegmatites. They're lithium-bearing pegmatites. The lithium The lithium numbers weren't anything crazy like 2%, like I never expected they would be, but 689 ppm for his and the cesium and everything was going along with it. So it's very, very interesting. And knowing the limited things I know about the geology in the area is the Archean age geology and the reports and stuff that I've read. That stuff can go on for tens of kilometers, and I thought it's just kind of a no-brainer. So we've continually not, gone and spent the whole piggy bank on the project because I don't want to throw all of my eggs into one basket, so to speak. But we've been slowly working our way and disproving all the theories that have been coming up against us. So I think it's going to be fantastic. The fact that Nemaska Lithium is going and drilling, and they're not drilling any geochemistry anomalies or any geophysics anomalies. They're just stepping out from what they already know that they have, and they're stepping out into an area that's almost like a swamp, which separates my property from their property. There's a bit of a swamp, and Spodumene Lake is right in the middle. So they're stepping out towards that direction. Our property is here. We found the pegmatites, they found the pegmatites, and it's like a perfect recipe. Whether we're going to have the quality of the numbers of the lithium when we go and drill, I can't promise that, but at least we know there's lithium there, there's pegmatites there, the geology says it should be there, and they're stepping out, and they were pleasantly surprised to find their Doris discovery. And they're going to be continuing drilling all through 2017 here now this spring. And our project, we have an area that's got, well, I call it a creek, but I think they call it a river up there. But we need to cross it from the highway in order to get the machinery and stuff in. And so we're waiting for the ground to freeze because, as I said, there is a swamp in the area, so we need the ground quite frozen to get the machinery and the guys in there. And it's also been very busy up in Nemaska with the camps and the food and lodging and stuff up there because they've been building the Nemaska Lithium mine. So accommodations have been limited, so we're kind of just waiting back until 2017 comes around here, and then when there's a little bit of availability in the camps and whatnot, we're looking to go up and to get in there to test our stuff that below surface and get some fresh rock to sample and see what the numbers come up with for that.
Really quickly, I'm going to end off with this question, and you can make it a yes or no, but is it fair to say, and I'm not a geologist, but is it fair to say that as they step closer and you keep stepping closer, that from a geology point of view, the chances of having some continuity and all that exponentially rise?
One would think. I am not a geologist as well, but just from, like I said, the limited knowledge I have of geology, it seems the odds are definitely increasing in favor of Durango to have something significant below the surface in our pegmatites that may resemble, like I said, maybe not at the extent and the depth and the grade of Nemaska Lithium, but it would seem crazy that we wouldn't have higher grades below the weathered rock at surface that we banged off and sampled. So we're hopeful.
Well, we'll end it there. You ended off 2017 with some great news, great developments. Especially the last half of the year was fantastic from a business point of view. And I'll tell everyone again, you're magnanimous when you're talking about, about NMX East, but you picked up all these pieces, which is amazing. All these pieces you picked up before they became something, but you were watching and you sniffed out opportunities and you made some smart choices as a team, not just you, but obviously your team and your board and everyone. And look, the limestone is starting to pay off. NMX East is looking better and better. So we're looking forward to watching you and your team in 2017 and seeing what you guys accomplish there, because I think you've got some great things on the horizon.
So do we.
Thanks a lot, Marcy. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you have a fantastic holiday, Merry Christmas, and all the rest.
Merry Christmas to you guys, and a Happy New Year too, George.
Thank you. You've been watching Marcy Kiesman. She's CEO of Durango Resources and the smartest CEO out there in the TSX Venture Exchange. The company trades on the stock symbol DGO on the TSX Venture Exchange. Watch this company. Take a look at the press releases it put out in 2016. watch the interviews that we did together in 2016, how everything has slowly and progressively been growing, and that gives you a nice look into what may be happening in 2017. Thanks to everyone at home for joining us. If this is the last interview you watch before Christmas, wish you Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays to everyone at home, and make sure you keep tuning into Agoracom. Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic day.